think of shapes. Think of shapes sort of flowing in and out of each other. Maybe something wrapping around. Something going behind. Really nice. That becomes really beautiful in collage if you end up collaging something like this. I just let myself kind of make tons of little sketches. Just a way to warm up. And then sometimes maybe I'd have something going over, in which case I might get my eraser. It kind of looks like it's going over. Just letting myself sort of wander around with shapes. It's gonna see who's here so far. I know. So welcome everybody. I did a story last night at Concord Arts Center, and it just takes a lot out of me to do a story in front of an audience. And I'm very mellow right now because it was such a adrenal buildup. And now I'm just like, yay. I can so relaxed right now. I'm almost too relaxed to do anything. It's kind of funny. It was really great. There was some great stories. Oh my God. Amazing story by what's her name? The wonderful sculptor. Mags Harries. Mags Harries is a wonderful Boston artist. She's a sculptor. I love her work. If you ever saw at the Porter Square subway in Cambridge, there's this giant staircase and there's all these lost gloves and sort of lost pieces of trash that are cast in bronze, and they're it's a sculpture along the escalator, and that's Mags Harries' work. Really wonderful artist. So it's very tricky to have shapes go in front and wrap around, and the way I do it is I allow myself to then erase, okay, because otherwise it's just too confusing for me. I can sometimes do it without erasing, but it's much easier to do it this way, where you do it like that. So if I wanted this shape to come down, oh, there's Ina. A little tricky. We're just warming up, doing some little shape drawings. Okay, so if this goes, maybe I want to put that in front here. I just keep them kind of. So this shape goes back and then it goes in front. It's like a braid. So if it goes in front, then it goes in back. These become really fun to put into collages later. I'm gonna show some of the drawings I did today, just getting ready for this class. And, you know, just we're gonna fill up some sketch paper, and I'll just turn that over. I'm just gonna show some of the other ones I did earlier today. You can see that things change. This is how I started today. I was just really playing with kind of any idea. And then they started to change and become more realistic because I got some rags to look at. really letting yourself kind of drift around, but thinking of shapes sort of interweaving with each other a little bit. Okay, so here, maybe I will do that erasing thing. Much too hard to do it any other way. It becomes really three-dimensional. I ended up looking at Noguchi, a wonderful Japanese sculptor, today, for ideas. And these were some of the ideas I drew from looking at his sculptures. They all start to, like, this was one sculpture, this was another. I just thought they're so cool and so beautiful and strange. And, you know, I get a lot of ideas from looking at sculptors. I really like to look at sculptors' work. Maybe because it's so three-dimensional. Actually, maybe it's an S. No, C-H-I. Oh, I spelled it right. Okay. Noguchi, wonderful sculptor. Japanese sculptor. The more I look at Noguchi, the more I see so many references to the body. I mean, really, this looks almost like arms or legs. And well, this one isn't really body, but feels like organs, and kind of reminds me of Jean Arp. It's another wonderful sculptor. I just do some little sketches. I think it's really fun to just start drawing with the idea of something kind of like a garland, with things kind of wrapped around each other and overlapping each other. Because just to get some ideas, and anything, let yourself wander, let yourself see what happens if things interrupt, overlap, put something behind something else. Yeah, before doing the story at Concord Art, I had like 3 days of adrenaline. It was actually hard to sleep. It's just so strange how powerful it is to go in front of 85, 90 people to tell a story with no notes. I mean, I've done it 4 times now in my life, but it's very intense. It's a very intense. I don't go into it in a very relaxed state. It's like going in front of a shooting range or something, firing squad. And then it feels tremendously good to have done it. It's powerful stuff. I really have so much respect for performers, people who do things like that. Can't imagine. I like the privacy of a studio, away from anybody. I'm going to switch the paper and see if we can do something a little bit bigger. Now this time, instead of erasing, maybe I'll just make it dark. You can just bypass all the erasing. You're always wanting to create space in two-dimensional work. Most of us are. It's kind of it's a very exciting thing to feel like you're seeing something spacious on a flat surface. It's part of the magic of drawing and painting and collaging, and there's something just super magical about having something come alive on a flat surface. So it doesn't, no, because that goes behind, so then this one will go in front. My brain doesn't work really that well for this kind of stuff, so I have to do it kind of like this. It's kind of rudimentary the way I do it. There's going to be lots of more sophisticated ways of drawing things in space, but I'm not that great at them. The way I do them, they're very primitive, and actually it's exactly what I like. They're not very slick, because I think it's hard for me to have space in this kind of shape. I'm just going to show how I might take a piece of fabric and get an idea of something, because sometimes I just need to see something, to feel something in space, to draw it. And so it can be really great. Let me just grab a piece of paper I have over here. This might be a little bit easier. Even just like that one piece of paper like this. This is sort of beautiful. Like, you take something that is, for those of you that might feel comfortable drawing something, exaggerating it a bit. Oh, that feels three-dimensional. So that gives me an idea to try to make a shape in collage that's going to feel like it's moving, like it's something. I'll try and do this one. This is a little tricky, but I can try. Probably do this in drawing class on Saturday. I'm not really staying true to what I was just drawing, but it's got a nice form. This is the way to find great garland shapes, I think. It's a great way to try to make something, the drawing feel three-dimensional, and then maybe build, you know, a collage shape out of that. All right, so do a couple more of these little sketches. Just keep doing some of these little sketches, and you know, it can be really fabulous just to have a little piece of paper, you know, and you have, there you have something that can be kind of like a garland shape. Hard to do that. I can try and draw that just quickly. Not very accurate, but. In some ways, today's class is kind of a variation on a lot of classes I've taught. But I'm so interested in these shapes, and sometimes I just want to teach what I'm really interested in myself. And I actually am still really interested in the Eric Carle animals, but I also found that I took some of his techniques and used them to make abstract shapes, which we're going to be doing right now in a minute. Okay, so these are my little sewing thing, little piece of fabric that friend of mine was making something. All right. Enough warm-up drawing. That's a good warm-up. Now we're going to start on something very, very different. So I'm going to get a piece of Bristol, but it can be any kind of, you can actually just do this on drawing paper or mixed media paper, but I'm going to use Bristol because it's a nice heavier paper for making a ground. And then we're going to do some transfers. You really just grab any old magazine, like any old. I'm not going to be really picky. I'm actually getting much less picky about what how I do these transfers. Let's see. Like, here's just this page. I think I'm just going to take a piece out of a magazine. You might want to watch just for a second. A little bit of a ripped edge. I just have a piece of a magazine. And I'm going to take my acrylic matte medium, and I'm going to put my acrylic matte medium here.
And did you say Bristol paper or?
I am using Bristol, yeah.
Okay.
And then I'm going to put, you know, I've really put a nice layer of the matte medium. I'm going to put this a little bit over the edge, so I'll have a little handle. I don't need to put the medium on top of the transfer, but I'm gonna really squeeze all that matte medium out. And there's somebody who ordered this class who has not taken very many of my classes, so I'm just gonna hold up the Utrecht acrylic matte medium that I like to use for this. Use for glue actually in this class. I use glue sticks too, but the medium is really. Now, the secret to transfer is to give it time to work. And making sure you're just getting every bit of glue out of this piece between the transfer and the paper. Oh, and it looks like this is working. Oh, actually, it's not working very well at all. It's good for you to see me completely fail at a transfer because they're very tricky. I didn't do very, this was not very good. It's okay, I'll do it again. So if I leave this now here, it's going to work much better. I just didn't have a good grip. And I can make this, I can put a little medium back because that is going to work, I think. It's okay. I really like them very abstract. That's how I like them. I'm just going to let that sit a little longer and then I'm going to cut out another one. I really am very unpicky about what I. Just going to throw some transfers onto this because the garlands look really beautiful. They look really good with transfers, I think. Scraping every little bit of stuff I can out of there. Now, I have a little bit of a handle. I'm going to let that sit. I'm going to see how this one is doing. Now, I might have left that a little too long. Sometimes I take it off with my hands like this. I don't like to add water because they get kind of, I think they get really funky looking when they add water. So transfers can be kind of a lot of work, but I don't actually mind that. And I'm just going to show you when I put a little bit of medium on here, it kind of brings out the transfer. And this is kind of nice. It's looking kind of nice now. Let's see how this one is doing. Always really helpful to pull the whole transfer off. And I like them to be very, very subtle. I don't want the exact magazine image at all. Okay, so that's starting to stick a lot, but I can usually sort of peel it off. Yep, just peeled that off. Their work. They can definitely be a piece of work. They're a piece of work. She's a piece of work. Where did that expression come from? Now, I get a lot of nerds on my table when I make these. There's just these little, so I have to kind of clean up because if I add matte medium and there's just tons of little nerds, it gets kind of funky. So now I've got these. And when you put the matte medium over a transfer, it really enhances the color. I'm going to do one more over here. I might just try this blue. It's really beautiful. Who knows? It probably won't print at all. You can't hope to even know what's gonna. Sometimes the darkest colors don't print at all. We'll see. Another thing I really like to do. Oh. Hey, Belle. Nice to see you. This is something I've been doing lately where I cut something out, but I leave a little bit of color right there. So Belle, we did a warm-up drawing, but now we're doing some transfers for the garlands. Okay, so I think I'm just going to do that. Okay, so I'm going to put my matte medium down. These are called magazine transfers. There's so much glue for me to put back. So Belle, we're just doing some magazine transfers to make a ground for the garlands that we're gonna start to make.
Okay, thank you. Sorry I'm late.
Oh, that's okay. And I'll send you the recording so you can
Great.
catch tomorrow. And
Thank you so much.
so, yeah, I don't know if you've done transfers before. They're very tricky.
Yes, they are tricky. I have done them, but they're tricky.
And they make a very beautiful, here, I'll show just while that one's setting. I was playing today with these shapes, but those were 3 transfers I did on a piece of Bristol. And then the idea was to throw some collage, some garlands in here, but I hadn't really worked it out yet. But there's just something about these transfers are very beautiful behind the garlands, I think. Okay, I'm going to pull this one off and see how this is doing. Not working at all. So I'm going to put it back. Maybe sometimes it's the dark colors that just don't work that well, but we'll see. I'll leave it on a little longer. I used to swear by using a very squeezed out sponge and rubbing it, but I really don't know that. I think that's just more of me wanting to do something with my hands than I don't think it really helps at all. Okay, I'm just going to leave that. Sometimes you have to be really patient. People ask me, can you transfer back onto a surface? And sometimes you can. You usually have to wait for it to be dry. I might just try here a little bit. Kind of fun. But this is actually a whole nother class I've done where you build shapes with transfers. You kind of sculpt with transfers. And I'm not going to spend too long on this because we're going to start to make the garlands. But this one is actually starting to work. So it makes me think I just have to leave it on longer. I'll just tuck a little more matte medium back in there. To be very patient, especially with magazines like Vogue, because they're just a little fancier than something like from the New York Times magazine. They're table cleaned up here. You just have to be a little patient in letting them work. Otherwise, we all take the transfers off too early, which is what I'm probably about to do right now. Yeah, gotta leave that longer. But since we don't have that much time. Now, it may not be much of a transfer, but it's actually something. It's some language that's really quite beautiful. And I love them when they're really subtle. It's really pretty. Sometimes I leave a little bit of the magazine in. I'm not sure I'm going to. Okay, pretty good. So you build them, and so now I'm going to put that aside. This transfers on Bristol. And I'm going to give you a few minutes to do that. I might just start another one. So we all do this for another, I don't know, for about another 7 minutes. You never really quite know what you're going to get with the colors. Something can look really cool and then it doesn't really look cool once you make a transfer. It'd be really nice to pair them so that they're not so uniform. It's kind of a nice one. Who knows what this is? I'm gonna have one float right in the middle. Boom. It's a little tricky to do one that's floating because then you don't have the little handle. So what I will do is I will peel up a little bit. It's not too challenging for me to. So I've got sort of a handle on that. Now, let's see how this one's doing. Looks nice. Oh, I love it. Love it. I love it. I love it. I love it. Didn't get them all off, so I'm gonna peel some of this. Very tricky to get them off sometimes. So sometimes I leave some of it, and that's fine too. But I just love that. Love it, love it, love it. I like the really soft, subtle transfers. I can pick this one up a little bit. This is the trouble. It's just so hard to get them off sometimes. Good to have fingernails. You will get you'll get the hack of doing transfers if you do them long enough. I could teach a whole class. I could spend a week with you on transfers alone. They're not something you learn in like 5 minutes. And like I said, they're a piece of work. If you can try to sort of pick up a whole piece, that's the trick. And then, as I was saying, you add some matte medium, it enhances them a lot. They get very rich looking. So pretty. They're just beautiful. And they don't have anything to do really with the magazine. I mean, you've sort of taken over the territory. I'm just going to do one last one. I really like that. Maybe I'll just do it right on the edge. Of course, that's really cool too. I like all, when I'm just trying to get impressions, maybe I'll just do the red one just for fun. Almost everything interests me. The trouble when both sides of a transfer of a magazine interest you, kind of stuck. I'm just going to wait for that, and then it's too early to peel it off. I love that. That's so pretty. Wow. I have to keep these pieces of paper. They're really nice. Oh, fix my creaky chair. It's a drag. So creaky. The freaky, creaky chair. All right. I really didn't leave that one long enough. You know what? I'll put it back on and I'll turn it over. And I'll leave it for a while. I'm gonna put that aside, tear it off in a second. Okay, so hopefully you've done a few little impressions of transfers on a piece of paper, on a piece of Bristol or any paper for that matter. Now I have a piece of sketch paper and I'm going to start to build my garlands. And I'm going to start with a piece of painted paper, but you can use colors for magazines very easily. All right, so I'm just going to take any old piece of paper. This blue paper. I'm going to collage it down to a piece of sketch paper. And I like to put the medium over the shape just because it makes it so silky. And then I kind of scrape it and I put it all back. This gets it nice and flat. And then I reach over and I'm pretty much going to just get anything I can find. I just found this shape. And I'm going to put this shape right there. Basically, it was just right there. So nice big penis shape there. Lots of things are suggestive in collage. Doesn't bother me at all. And now I'm going to take one of my the deli paper, which is the same thing as trace. And just going to draw. I'm going to think about having something that goes around. I'm gonna draw that. And then I'm gonna find a piece of paper. And I have a wonderful big piece of paper of painted newspaper. I like the color. I like the smoky color. And I'm gonna show you two different ways to cut things out. One is I just hold my paper like this, make it more manageable. So I just hold it. That's one way to do it. I'm going to cut this out. I try to hold the papers together so that it's a little tricky to do it though. But you know me, I'm not super exact. So I don't mind if it's a little bit primitively done. And there's another way to do it, which I'm going to show in just a second, which is the Eric Carle way. I can't remember how I did this. This is one of the problems. Sometimes I need my camera to remember how I did it. Okay, do I have it? No. Okay, there we go. I'm gonna glue this. I haven't forgotten, but let me show the other way to cut something. Is it only that? All right, so if I wanted to cut it a different way, I would put this drawing back on a trace paper because this is the technique. Okay. And this time, I'm going to get a completely different color going. That's okay. Just don't have the same colors. This time I'm gonna put my cutting board, the piece of paper I'm using, the painted paper, and my trace paper, and I take my little, this is the Eric Carle way, and I cut very carefully to not hurt myself. And actually, Eric Carle was not that great at cutting, and so he made things very funky, and that's why I love them. Same with Matisse. You know, it's like they weren't perfectionists. That's why Eric Carle's animals have this great life, because they're these cutting things kind of funkily. So here we go. Here's that shape. And he was using a razor blade, not even an X-Acto blade. So, you know, if I wanted, that's kind of a nice color for there. I like that one a lot. Yeah, I could actually, should I put that over it? Have it be a little bit different. Looks kind of cool, doesn't it? Or I could have it go continue like this. That looks cool too. I'm going to round this and use this right now. And then I can put something here. Okay, so the thing goes behind, in front, and then behind. So I can figure that out with my pencil. Sort of go, okay, it went in front, and now it goes behind. And where should it go from there? I'm gonna make that looks a little funny. Change my mind. I don't like that. Maybe it goes back down. Now I need that piece, right? Okay. Now get my little cutting board. Having trouble deciding how to do this. I learned a lot from Eric Carle, and I intend on doing more classes on him. I just feel like, oh, interesting. Very interesting guy. Ooh, fun, huh? It's fun to make things feel three-dimensional. Then what's really fun is to cut these free, cut them loose from the paper, and then you get these shapes. Now, what's kind of fun, I find it kind of fun, is to fill in things, like to put something else here. And maybe I would use some of this paper or just grabbing papers. Might take this and go, okay, I'm going to put something here. That means I need another piece of paper. I've got some turquoise paper, it's kind of bright. Okay, I might just do that. And I, you know, I don't always use the Eric Carle method. Sometimes I do the thing where I just fold the piece. Like that. I'm kind of impatient. Get it done fast. And so this is Alexandra not doing a very good job of cutting that shape, but that's okay. I'll fix it. I can always fix it. Now, remember, when I cut this whole shape free of the big sheet of white paper, I can sculpt my garland even more. Like I'm kind of aware that this color is so dominant, kind of competing, but I can make it more subtle. I can cut away a lot of it. Ooh, I love it when little pieces of paper travel into the, just love it when little tiny flicks of color tell me they want to be in the piece. Those are those little serendipitous moments that are so special. Cool. All right, now I don't like to cut these out until they've dried for about 10 minutes. So this is a really nice collage garland. And remember, when I cut it out, I don't have to cut it out exactly the way it is. I can cut it differently. So then, of course, forgot to take this baby off. You know, that's really stuck on there. So maybe this time I will use water because otherwise I'll never get it off. And the way you take off a transfer with water is you put lots of water on it. And you have to be patient. This takes a while. A whole nother way of dynamic. This is the trouble with it's too good. It's too good a transfer. It's exactly like the ad, so I hate it. But maybe I can collage a dark garland over it, because every problem you make a mistake, then you got to deal with it. So maybe I'll collage over it. Maybe I'll introduce some really dark colors. And maybe I will do something over it right now. I love problems. Problems mean you have to solve them. So that's an exact transfer if you leave it on too long and then take it off with water. So it's a whole different kind of printmaking. And some people do that on purpose. But earlier I did a collage garland, and you know, I can always go right over it. But that doesn't look so great. Maybe I need my dark shapes. And I've actually got a really beautiful dark shape over here. Kind of amazing. Or I could use the paper bag shapes. I don't know. I also just cut it down. I don't usually do that. I usually try and deal with whatever happened. Nice. Or I can just put it over here because I don't know what to do with it. Okay, so like I said, you're not going to want to cut out your garland until it's dried for about 10 minutes. So I'm going to work on some more garlands. And I was thinking I would show doing them with magazines, because you don't have to have spectacular painted papers. What if I just used magazine? And it's just like the drawings. You're going to try and kind of make things that wind and feel like garlands. Shapes that are intertwining and flowing. We have a piece of paper. I'll use a combination of magazine and painted papers. You know, I've never done this, but I'm kind of tempted to throw in one transfer next to the garland. I don't know. I just suddenly just wanted to. Just one transfer because it just feels like it kind of goes right there. Never done that. That's why I love teaching, because pushes me to get inventive. Such a helpful tool for me to have to come up with ideas for classes and practice things in my studio. It's just like so fun. So I'm just going to leave that for a second, and then maybe I'll get. I could just do this for hours, and I do. And I'm trying to make them bigger. But sometimes I just really like. Sometimes I have painted paper that isn't big enough, so. Getting too small. It's hard to work when you get too small. I really, really appreciate so much about how Eric Carl just the way he made things so choppy and kind of funky. It's like, love that handmade touch. And same with Matisse. Never done that before. Put a transfer as part of the garland. Wonderful, really bright paper. So the thing is, it's like you're building shapes. I think I did a class called shape building. I think I did pretty recently, actually. I think we're doing the same thing. We should take a little break. To get a cup of tea, drink some water, have a snack, stretch out your body a little bit. I think a lot of these can really end up looking like organs, body parts. And maybe, you know, our bodies do really influence what we're making. I know the body does influence what we're making. I happen to know that quite a lot. I don't think I can stop, so. But maybe I should stop and eat some nuts. I don't really feel like stopping though. Really fun to spin your shapes around and keep building on them from different angles. I have to say, I do find the painted papers more impelling than the magazines. There's a kind of deadness to the magazine, and there's an aliveness to the painted paper. I've seen beautiful collages made with magazines, but rarely actually. I mean, look at the vibrancy of some of this color. It's just so nice. And I feel like I'm just making shapes that feel spirit driven, which is where I want to be. Actually, the blue. So in a minute, I'm going to cut free one of my garlands and show you how I might use it. I find it very hard to stop building. It's like they just want to go on and on and on. That's what happens to me. They just, these shapes just, they sort of want to continue. That's my experience. You know, I think one of the reasons I really prefer to do these with painted papers is because there's so much movement in painted papers, and magazines are very flat. And it kind of reminds me of a little story about some people I know that hired somebody to paint a bunch of their rooms in their house. And they found this amazing person who really knew what she was doing. And in one room, they wanted kind of a burnt orange, beautiful burnt orange color for a guest bedroom. And another room, they wanted like a celery green. And I mean, they just had all these ideas. And it turns out that every room that she painted had about 3 different colors on the walls. Because sometimes if you think, you know, you see somebody's beautiful painted room and then you get the color and then you go to the store and you get it mixed and then you bring it back and then you paint a room and it doesn't feel like what you saw. It feels, it's flat. Because often if it's really done right, there's, you know, there might be like a bright yellow underneath the orange so that it's reflecting through. And I think some of our painted papers they have a variety of marks. There's the brush strokes. There's a lot of soul in them. And so I think they look better than the magazines. The magazines just look really flat and dull. All right, I'm going to now put this garland aside, and I love it. I love where this is going. And you know, when I cut it out, I might change it completely. So I'm going to take the one I made earlier, which is right here. And I'm going to cut it out. I'm also going to cut out, if I can find it, the other one I made earlier. Well, I guess I already cut that out. I made one before class, and that's this one. And so I already cut that out. Just thinking it might be cool to cut out that piece because that piece looks kind of weird. It can be cool to cut into a shape. But this one, I think it's dry enough that I'm ready to course, I end up thinking these are really beautiful too, because they've got all these cool lines on them. I really like these. I've worked a lot with these kind of papers before that have some of the collage parts on them. I just might take some of this off. Like I said, it's so dominant. Cool. Okay. Now I'm just going to see how this looks on one of these guys. And it might be just too big. It's kind of nice though. It's kind of nice. Actually, I'm feeling like this really goes with this. Maybe I'll cut this one down. I don't know. I just might. I can always collage it back together. Sometimes I cut them up and then I put them together at different angles. Oh, Sometimes it's nicer when something's upside down. I don't know. That's not- It's always the hope, right? You turn it upside down, it's like, oh, it's much better. Not done, but kind of interesting. Let's see, where's my other? Where's my other one again? The other ground. Oh, here it is. Love that piece. Cool. Looks like a little bit like a noose. You know, the whole idea of a hook is sort of amazing. Like that. I'm kind of liking this just the way it is. I think I'm just gonna make it feels kind of right. Not sure. Wow, there's an ant in my studio. I feel like getting a little. Okay, don't come near the matte medium, little ant. Will not be good to you. So what you want to shoot for is just having all these shapes all over your studio. These collage garlands, and then you just pick them up and you're going to be like, oh my God, this is what I need right now for this piece. I might have to cut these out. Oh, God. This is one of the pieces I made, and I'm just cutting it up because I really like to cut up the garlands and then use them. Actually, that's kind of nice. Not quite. Can't believe I have ants in my studio. It's very strange. Coming inside, I guess. Ooh, like that. I just like one of these. So sometimes the collage garlands are hard to collage down because they're so thick. And it just takes more work. But I do have some heavy books I sometimes throw on a piece if it's very stubborn about getting flat. Usually it'll get flat if you just are patient and you keep just doing what I'm doing right now. Crazy idea. Just had such a crazy idea. I'm not sure about that. Suddenly feel like I need flowers. All right, everybody. I kind of moved away from garlands, but I just, sometimes you can't help what you make. I think this one I'll have to cut up for more pieces. Somehow it kind of crashed and burned. Love this. This is the one I really like I did. And I think I'll cut it out now. See what it looks like when it's freed up. Be fun to collage with this one. I'm gonna do a little experiment and I'm gonna use some of the papers that are cut away from the garlands. I'm just gonna. I really like them a lot. So in just a few minutes, we can do a little share or not. Very optional. So don't forget that a great artist, Helen Frankenthaler, said that when she made art, she usually really only liked about 1 in 12 to 1 in 18 pieces. So she was really masterful. And don't expect to be satisfied. There's a great unrest in creative work. There's a great unrest in creative people. And that's really natural. Agnes Martin also talks about it, that there's the kind of dissatisfaction in one's work. I mean, we all know, you sort of know if you're a creative person that, you could do it, but something holds you back. I mean, I think all of us feel this way. I really do. I think there are some very lucky people who just feel incredibly liberated in their work, and they're able to just do it. I recently saw a movie called Bohemian Rhapsody about the guy from Queen. What's his name? Eddie Murphy. No, not Eddie Murphy. Freddie Mercury. Freddie Mercury. But it's actually a great movie. It's really an amazing movie about creative work.
Yeah, I like it.
Yeah, it's really, really, really good movie. It's an amazing acting job. But Freddie Mercury was truly creative. I mean, really, and he makes the sort of operatic rock music. He was just completely in a very creative zone. And a couple of times he says, "I'm exactly where I'm supposed to be." And that's what you want. You want to feel, an artist wants to feel like they're really in their work, and it doesn't happen that often. It doesn't happen that often to us. So don't get discouraged, because it's really normal to feel often like you're not really living up to your potential. And I think it's helpful to learn about Helen Frankenthaler saying that. Agnes Martin also just goes on and on about it, because I think people sort of expect to have their work make them happy. I feel good if I do it. I mean, I just feel good if I have done it, and I enjoy it a lot while I'm doing it. But what I'm really after is that kind of cloud feeling of losing myself and getting off the treadmill of ordinary life, which can be really exhausting. There's a kind of peacefulness in making art, I feel sometimes. And sometimes it's really a torment. And there are a few people who just don't feel that, and they'll like look at me like, "What do you mean? Don't you just do it because you love it?" And I'm like, "Yeah, but I also hate it sometimes." I don't know. And sometimes people are like, "Well, maybe I'm just a difficult person. I sometimes love the person I'm married to, and sometimes I don't love them." So I don't know, maybe that's just me. And there's some really lucky people out there who are just always happy or something, but as artists or married or whatever, as people, I kind of like this collage.